don't know.
You know, like, there's many different types of culture, right? Yeah.
For real?
You hear that? Like, there are different type of culture, right? What happens once you get one, you never get the same one again.
Okay.
So, so the only other lessons you get apparently.
These ones are getting weird now. These are, I just feel like they're just designing new viruses for us, man. Or
either that or it's just a byproduct of the toxicity of the environment.
The environment.
Yeah.
Technology. Huh? I think
make it like a semicircle.
But Takaka, you got to come in there though, you know.
Content over everything.
You're the Brexit kind of champion, right?
Brexit champion.
Yeah, you're the secretary of Brexit right now.
Is that a Brexit thing you lot?
So it's Brexit, how it affects Alcohol.
I'll keep it short, yeah. Brexit is false. It's been a whole pantomime. I called it from the beginning. And in the end, you're going to realise very little changes, but all the energy that man has put in has kept man from looking at real issues.
We'll keep that for the camera when it comes on.
Okay.
All right.
That's my mistake.
All
right, well, let's go on.
So welcome to our corner. This is what the fourth one, third one? Fourth.
Is it the fourth?
Well, it's somebody, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've got 2 issues today, 2 main issues, and then afterwards we're going to take like a response from the collective, right? So basically, the first issue is going to be Brexit. How does it affect black people in England? And then the last one will be black as an identity. We're going to talk about black as an identity, right?
Okay.
So, brother,
you can have for that one for sure. Black as an identity. Part 2, so Brexit and how it affects black people. So Brexit basically is the idea of Britain leaving the European Union. Britain first joined the European Economic Community, I believe, back in 1976, I think. Yeah, and back then there was no European Union. They were just joining. I'm going to skip over all the actual boring details, actually, to be fair. So basically, okay, fair enough. But Brexit basically, what it represents is what happened was European Union had created this idea of towards closer union. They really actually had this idea of a super state, of creating basically layers of government, federal, and so on and so forth. And bit by bit, they've been getting closer and closer. Europe itself doesn't have massive control over our economy or over our politics, but it does have some choice-making decisions and some power, basically. How it affects black people, for me personally, I feel like Brexit would be a bad thing for our community, mostly. I don't think Brexit, I think a lot of people saw Brexit, because what happened is the European Union, Britain no longer makes treaties for itself, so they have to trade with who European Union trades with, and the European Union doesn't really have many trade tariffs with former Commonwealth countries like the Caribbean and so on. And this was the hook that a lot of black people were sold on, or black people who supported Brexit. That I know, they was like, yeah man, when we get Brexit, they must start trading with the Commonwealth and all these types of things again, and Windrush nations and so on and so forth. And really, a lot of people saw Britain's involvement with the EU as them giving up on the Commonwealth. So many people believe that Britain leaving out the EU means they will now retake up the Commonwealth. However, there's different perspectives on the Commonwealth, because some people see the Commonwealth as just essential of the British Empire. Others see it as something that's great and we all be a part of, basically. So I think that's the position that we got put in. So for me, so as of right now, where we stand on Brexit is, I think, a bit like what Jedi said. I personally had that same position where I felt it was unworkable and I felt it was going to be a farce. And it definitely has kept us distracted, because if you think over 2 years, how much attention news lines and news coverage has been paid to Brexit and how little has been paid to all other things, and think about what would happen in a normal year where this wasn't happening. So we're definitely missing a lot. Even on like a couple of days ago when they were talking about Jeremy Corbyn's stupid woman comment, they released about 5 different reports that same day. But everyone was talking about the stupid woman thing, so they missed the impact reports of Brexit and the analyst reports. So that's the position we're in. So right now, what we have right now is actually we're in deadlock. So Theresa May has this deal that nobody really likes. Half of her party aren't really on it. Or maybe a little under half of the party. The Labour Party ain't on it, but the Brexiteers just want to leave, and they will leave on a hard Brexit if they want, but Parliament don't want to leave. So we're in this deadlock where it doesn't look like we're either going to have a hard Brexit or we're not going to leave at all. There's no middle ground, it seems, right now.
To be honest with you, like I'm kind of with Jedi. I don't think it's going to make any difference whatsoever.
Even if Britain leaves?
No, and here's why. A lot of the major difference I think it makes here is in terms of labour, being able to travel easily to work in Europe. I don't know the percentage of black people in the UK that are going to be negatively affected by that. If we're not able to travel through Europe as freely as we were before, most people that I know that work in England and they go on holiday to Europe for a break or whatever else like that. I have not heard for this entire thing in terms of how it affects black people, that there is a certain number of the black labour force that relies upon access to Europe. Yeah? You know what I'm saying? We're not highly represented in entrepreneurship and business, so we're not trading as a community. You know what I'm saying? With Europe that deeply, as far as I'm aware. The major thing that I saw people saying during the original debates, that black people that were for Brexit were basically black people that have heavy ties to back home, and the idea that it would be easier for us to come in, which I thought was wishful thinking, personally. I didn't see like my little cousin from Jamaica finding it easier to get through customs because of Brexit. At the same time, you raise an interesting point, about that and the Commonwealth thing, and the idea that some people think that basically it was the EU that stopped kind of Britain trading with the Commonwealth, right? It's an interesting kind of thought process. Prior to the Brexit debate, David Cameron went to Jamaica,
prison,
right? And his whole speech was
Grenada as well.
Right. Say again?
Grenada as well.
And Grenada, and his whole speech, was basically about that. He was apologising to Jamaica for basically Britain having neglected her and all kind of different things, and vowing to renew this relationship. So it could, in effect, at least on paper, the Prime Minister of the country at the time was promising to do that even without because as far as I'm aware, from what I remember, he hadn't called the Brexit vote yet. He hadn't called the referendum yet, right? And so obviously then the thing with the prison, I'm saying, promising to build a prison in Jamaica and them kind of things there, right? That's what I'm saying. But in effect though, Britain has never been disengaged from its Commonwealth. That Britain has heavy interest in all of the areas. So it's got heavy interest in places like Ghana and South Africa and them kind of places there, all over the Caribbean. That's what I'm saying. So it's just that the relationships, the economic relationships heavily benefit Britain. So it's not that there's no relationship. So I feel that people that say that, it's that the understanding of world politics and economy. And not to say that I'm an expert on these things, but like just the basic tenets of it, like what is the Commonwealth and how it does it operate, because you've got a Commonwealth Games every 4 years, right? So there's obviously something going on. You know what I'm saying? Like that, to have that Games, it requires there to be continuous. You know what I'm saying? You can't just get together for the Games every year. There's got to be continuous things that keep that together.
They have a heads of state, Commonwealth heads of state meeting every year.
All that, just what I'm saying, right? So I just didn't see it as a realistic idea that suddenly we're going to leave the EU and suddenly, the Prime Minister is going to, start, sharing the wealth more commonly. It doesn't make no sense.
What about particular roles that black people tend to operate? So you have a lot of black people in the NHS and something.
That's it.
How they affect that?
That's the thing. So if funding does get cut, and this is how Brexit does start affecting black people. So directly, like you say, we don't work across the border. So those direct impacts, because so many black people are represented in public sector services. If Brexit leads to a downturn in economics, we always know during economic hard times, ethnic minorities, especially ethnic minority women, tend to face the hardest time, basically. So if Brexit does happen, that's the impact for our community, possibly, if there is a bad economics.
But
if the Brexit goes well, it might have another impact.
But the Brexiters are saying, and obviously they've proven it to be liars in at least one case in this year.
For sure.
But they're saying that if we're not paying money into the EU, that money has to go to public services.
Sure.
Which basically they say that our community, because we're so heavily represented in that sector, is going to be,
will benefit from that. For sure. If there is a dividend, and the thing is, because we do send so much money to the EU, we will get back. However, the thing is, when we send to the EU, they usually do a calculation.
Right.
I'm not sure if we get all of it back.
Right.
We get large amounts of it back. So for very big organisations, especially research organisations, people doing like STEM and science studies and stuff like that, they get huge amounts of funding from the EU. And that funding is actually the UK money given to the EU. So if the EU no longer gave those bodies funding, the UK government would have to give those bodies funding. And so that money they're saying will go straight to the NHS. We'll have to get split between all the other things that the EU money.
So that's where the lie came in.
That's where the lie.
Because I remember hearing that a lot of people from universities, that are engaged in that engineering and kind of things, they were saying that there's a lot of research grants and funding that is not going to get given now if we leave the EU. Just what I'm saying.
The thing is, they probably will still get given because those are seen as having benefits to the economy. So what will happen is those will continue, and that talk about giving money to the NHS, they'll be like, now we've only got 10,000 now to give to the NHS, or so on and so forth. Do you know what I mean? So the amount they're talking about will get drastically reduced. When
I first heard that though, what it put in my mind was Russia, because I learned some time ago that one of the best kept secrets in Europe here is the extent to which Russia is leading in graduating like people in STEM fields.
Oh, really?
Apparently. So a lot, like in Europe, they have a disproportionate number of people that are graduating and experts in technology and them kind of things there, like aerodynamics and plane building. You know what I'm saying? All the kind of things there, like they're on this thing apparently. So
yeah, definitely. I can imagine that, and because also Europe is heavily reliant on Russia and gas and things like that. So there's a big impact. And also, interestingly, with the whole Trump thing, Russia also played are accused of playing an interesting role with the whole Brexit thing of actually trying to basically push for Brexit to happen. Basically, they wanted to break up Europe a bit more, cause some issues. And the thing is, and what's interesting is recently in America they spoke about how Russia were targeting the black voters in America specifically and creating black profiles and things like that and the thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if similar things would happen here in the UK, where Russians. So a lot of these black guys who thought on their Facebook they're just getting messages about working with the Commonwealth. It could have come from a Russian troll, and that's just to go from. Just to go down a little
interesting. I just find it very, because you said that you started speaking about the origins of the EU in the first place. And by far
ideas from the African Union, but
that's not where I was going to go. But the most interesting thing, for me, coming out of the whole discussions around the debates and the kind of things there, was the idea that the EU had presided over the longest period of peace in European history, which they said was 70 years. I thought that was amazing, right? For them to say that so publicly, so consistently over a period of time was madness, because obviously the perception is the fact that Europe is supposed to be the light of democracy and freedom and peace and that kind of things there, but they have not had a period in their history, by their own admission, where they have not warred for 70 years, up until the last 70 years. That is mad. Whereas Africa is supposed to be travel wars forever and ever. You know what I'm saying? That kind of things there. And I thought that was an interesting thing. So it shows you that effectively the EU was put in place to solve their own problems in terms of war.
100%.
Yeah, just what I'm saying. Like,
straight after World War II,
in terms of war, right?
Yeah, straight after World War II. The idea was, it was a very liberal idea, and the philosophy was integrated economies will go to war less.
Yes, basically.
So if you are dependent on each other, so they basically made as many trades as possible between France and Germany and all these places. So if you're dependent on each other economically, you won't fight each other. And that was a big idea behind the European Union. I think it's something that possibly we can learn from in Africa. And actually, I think in Africa it's mad to think that economies haven't still been integrated in terms of you'd be in one place like a border country and you just can't get direct flights to that country because they don't have the bilateral agreements in certain parts of Africa still today. So I think there are great lessons to learn from the European Union for Africa and for black people in general. And also I think there's also great lessons to learn in terms of people who are economically in a place. So if you're a black homeowner and you have a certain amount of money and Brexit does happen and somehow creates an economic downturn, there's opportunities for you in that situation. If there's economic upturn, there's opportunities for you in that situation. But I think it's about more black people being savvy about what's going on politically and economically and how the two affect each other. Because I have people where I work basically who pretty much they just do like currency exchange basically. They bought a bunch of euros and an announcement was made one day and they sold all the euros. Do you know what I mean? And that was it. And they knew the announcements were coming, so they were prepared. But the thing is obviously it's speculative. You're not sure exactly what the announcements will be. But if you are in a position where you're prepared to capitalize on these things, there's ways as a community you can work. And I think politically it makes sense for our community. So when we're talking about things like Brexit and how it affects our community, I think it makes sense to talk about vote impacts and how we as a community can come together, make politicians come to us and actually start listening to those who are learned. Because like I done politics at university, there's people in our community who are far more skilled and know far more about politics than I do, who could come together and we could actually come together, and even if we're doing trades or trading or buying stocks and shares and stuff like that, they can advise us on the political aspects of the economics. And I think it's about us actually coming together and creating those pacts. And I think there's some people in our community who are doing it. So
So what you're saying, so to conclude then, it doesn't really affect us directly now, but it's something we can actually gain or not gain from.
That's it.
If we're prepared for it.
And I think also it's also one of these things that's depending on the position you're in society. So if you are in a public service job, it's going to be difficult for you wage. I mean, you're always going to be dependent on the economic downturns. But I remember when the recession happened, my mum said to me, don't worry about it, we're black, we've always been in a recession. And I think there's an element of that for us as a black community that, you know, we know how to deal with hard times and how to survive and how to get through it. So I think Brexit is something for us to focus on, but I think we have more pressing concerns about coming together as a community. And if we do that, we'll be able to face issues like Brexit.
Well, that might then mix into our next conversation. If we conclude this one, the next topic will be black as an identity.
We're not waiting for the Titan.
Boy,
I don't know if the Titan's going to make it today. It's starting to rain and them things.
Good to see you, fam. Hey.
How you doing?
Just the Titan scene.
Check the WhatsApp, man.
Just doing our thing. Is he here?
No, I don't like you made it yet.
Well, in that case, do you want to push it to next week? Because that's his thing.
It is his thing. Like, I don't want to, maybe we can do some question and answer if there's any live or...
Well, there was one other topic. What was the topic I said I wanted to cover if he wasn't here?
Was it discipline or was it?
This unity.
About unity causes others.
Yeah, that might. What is it? Is it a problem when black people become unified?
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
It's interesting because black as an identity would actually be a good starting point before that, because then you.
You want to bring this
but
together.
If that was Callum wanted to tackle that issue, then I respect for him. We'll either wait or we'll jump into that one.
100%. But
So all right. So let's look at that one. That's more my alley, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What is the problem of black people unified? Is there a problem? Is it not a problem? What have you seen?
I've seen that it is a problem.
Why?
Personally, it's not. Why? I can't even ever really explain the mentality behind some of the people do it. Some people you can see directly they want to, they see it as a threat to them or somehow as something that is blaming them for something, and they start to feel guilty prematurely before anything's even happened. You see black people getting together and talking about we need to do this for ourselves. They start feeling like, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong.
To make it easy though, let's break that. So what does it mean by black unity? Because obviously if you don't understand what definition is, then I suppose you can have elements of fear everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So what does black unity mean? So come on, bro.
You know, for instance, what is the unification? Like, what is it about? What is the element that unifies, a collective population?
So the question is what? Sorry.
What is the element that?
That basic that unite a collective population.
Right. So what is it? So for me, I think it is like the need for betterment, as in like, rightly or wrongly, there's this group that has been defined as black, right? And in England, because we're here talking about England, they are identified by IC3 for the most part, right? And that covers all the sub-Saharan African countries as well as the West Indies and these countries, right? So the question is, now that they've been labelled and identified, are they a community based upon that, right? And if they can be, what is the needs of that community, right? So if you look and you realise that everyone from that community collectively might not, say, be doing too well on a collective nature in business, let's say, who is going to fix that? People outside of that community or people within that community, right? So when I'm talking about unity or solidarity, it's on these kind of issues that I'm speaking on, right? So if black people are going to come together for business, for example, right? As in, my man's got a shop, you've got a stockist, whatever. You get your stuff from this stockist. We're in the community, we make sure we buy your stuff, and the money's circling, right? How does that negatively affect people who are not within that community directly? That's the question.
Quite literally, the money that you used to get from one area, they no longer will get.
So I guess that could be a threat then, right?
100%,
If you're used to, like, for example, right, there's Asian, whether it's East Asian or South Asian shops in black communities around the world who sell black hair products, right? And obviously, black people buy black hair products in quite a high amount. So if they were to just stop, that would obviously negatively affect that community. So I kind of get that, right? And I get why, from a business perspective, they're going to go, don't do that. But is that a universal thing? Like, how many people actually have, how many people groups actually have a hair product or whatever it is?
Put it in.
Where it's sort that thing out. Boy, Father mercy. Content, boy, cutting corners, man. Man's hanging figures up with rubber bands and that. Anyway, what was I saying? So where were we? So you know what we should do? If people walking by, we should ask them, innit, their opinions and stuff. Yeah, like what is the most scariest thing of this word, black unity or black solidarity? What do you reckon it is? What is the most fearful thing? Or are black people paranoid? Maybe black people are paranoid that when we speak about this concept, maybe it's just we're projecting. Are we projecting? I don't know.
I think the concept could be, could be seen as a black nationalist movement.
What is a black national movement for the people at home? What is that? What is it?
I think it's a group of people that unify in terms of, basically being black and all that. But, I think there's certain values that they unify by. It's not just being black. It has to be some type of values, that's the reason why they are. There's a reason why they are, unified. A common purpose, a reason to believe in, something like that.
But what is black nationalism in the sense of what is it? What is it that? What is it? How does it work?
Basically, for instance, we look at stateside.
Yeah.
I think the principle of it is like representing black people and want black men. That's the obvious thing. In terms of economics, education, and stuff that could have impact on black people as a collective.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that so the term black nationalist, and I would consider myself a black nationalist, but not everybody that wants to improve the condition of black people is necessarily a nationalist. Yeah, and that's where people that the term gets into contention. You know what I'm saying?
Because I was reading, I think Esau, the heavy set bloke.
Here it comes there. oh, you mean the Muslim brother with the
heavy set bloke.
Is he Sunni Muslim?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah. He's got twists, afro.
Well, it's like in.
Is he quite? He's quite. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Okay. So basically, he basically talked about that he was black veteran.
Yeah.
However, he said he's also Muslim as well.
Yeah.
So he can't jeopardize his belief and his racial identity.
Yeah.
So he stated that that he will help black people.
Yeah.
As long as he doesn't compromise his
religious belief. Yeah. And that's another thing. So my point is that I think. And I think this is the reason why Raven talks about black betterment, because it's kind of like a base level thing that like if I'm a black nationalist over here and you're a black Muslim over here and you're a black Christian over here, there are levels to which everybody can, you know what I'm saying? There's a certain level to it. There's a certain level, right? So wherever we disagree is where we disagree, you know what I'm saying? And we'll each do that in our own, so you have black nationalist groups or communities over here, you have black Muslim, you know what I'm saying, over here, and whatever. But there's just like a level to which there's confluence or congruence among all those things if we want improvement for our own community. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where it lies. And the difference is though, so like for a black nationalist kind of thrust might be total like independence. Yeah, we want to do our own thing or whatever else like that. Whereas if you're more like an anti-discrimination activist, you just want basically more acceptance. Yeah? You just want to be, you know what I'm saying? You want more. You don't want there to be any hindrances with regards to black people's access to the job market, for example.
Fight for inclusion, basically.
Yeah, kind of thing. But the reality is that not having a hindrance to the job market is not something that a black nationalist would disagree with. It's more that's
agree with it.
That's not our aim.
He wants self-determination.
Want our own thing. That's what I'm saying. So the idea is that, all right, well, let's work together on making sure there's no hindrance to the job market then. This is what I'm saying. Like, and then the person who's satisfied with that will stay there, and then whoever's not will go further and do whatever it is that they want to do.
So I guess we're panning a question of like how is that achieved? How is black unity achieved? And obviously the question still is what is black unity a problem? I guess, but how is black unity achieved? You're tackling on there.
Yeah.
I think one thing I was trying to do, especially last week, was to approach black people who I didn't necessarily agree with some of their behavioural patterns or some of their ideas, but there was something I could build on.
Yeah.
And there was a brother, he's not this week.
And that's what got you in trouble last week.
Yeah, funny enough, it was. But there was one brother here who I don't necessarily agree with his political stance, but he was very skilled in developing.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that there's certain skills I think might be quite valuable to learn, and programming and so forth is one of them, right? So for me, how unity might be achieved is to focus on what you agree with and not what you disagree with. Would you agree with that statement? Yeah? use that statement.
Yeah, except for the fact that, as you've seen, there are certain closely held beliefs here that people don't think they should compromise on. So it's maybe part of the process is actually defining what a compromise is and what is not a compromise. You know what I'm saying? Because maybe what people see as a compromise may actually not be a compromise.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes people make up some like very wild stories in what might happen when they join black people. Like for some reason, homosexuality seems to come up a lot. Like when I join a black betterment group, I'm going to be engaged in a sexual relationship with homosexuals, and I don't understand where this comes from. I would think that the black collective is the one place you wouldn't get that in abundance.
To be fair, yeah, not in abundance, but it is becoming more of a thing.
There isn't a large population of LGBT members in the community.
There is, you're saying.
Is that a large?
I don't know about large, but growing, especially among the youngers. Because what it is, I feel like there's an idea to which this is gonna sound away, but the idea of quote unquote sexual freedom is being pushed like as a primary kind of thing, especially among the younger generation. You got hit songs called "I Kissed the Girl and I Like It." So this has less to do with sexual identity more than just sexual freedom. Do what you want to do, explore. Do it,
kind of like
explore. I'm saying that's it. And so, but that has been attached to an identity thing. Just what I'm saying. And how people find their identity. You know what I'm saying? So we have to work at that kind of thing.
You know, when I was younger, okay, I think beginning of the decade, went to school. You know, people used to make fun of people who actually thought they were gay. There was a guy, I think I was 6 or a couple years back. He stated that there's a guy and that he might be a suspect.
I don't know where suspect. Very familiar with that terminology.
But this is the thing, though, right?
He might be suspect, right? Apparently, he, I think he was with another guy and all that.
Right.
So so I think there's a group of guys that didn't want to be friends with him. Because he's suspect.
Well, the thing is that could spin off to another conversation about how to interact with people with different sexuality preferences and so forth, right? And I guess if that is infiltrating the black betterment kind of ideas, like people intimidated, I don't know why they would be intimidated anyway, and start associating these things with black betterment. But that is a conversation we could have. Right?
Yeah, but at the same time, I feel like, for example, like I've got my positions on certain things. But at the same time, like if I'm dealing with an issue like police brutality, and a brother or a sister is killed in police custody, then the brother or sister killed in police custody.
It doesn't matter.
But this what I'm saying, like, I'm like, what my concern is, just what I'm saying, like, that's my concern. We can leave that a debate for another time or a conversation for another time or whatever.
Do you know there's people who died in police custody? Not talking about 2002. I think it was, it was pretty much clear-cut racism. I'm talking about, from 2010 onwards. I think it's race-based. Definitely. I feel like, because I think in 2010, 2011, it was like a sharp upsurge. I don't know if there's an upsurge, but because more people started to know about it. So that was the year that Somali culture, the UK legendary artist was killed. Supposedly stabbed himself in the heart. And between that, and then you had Mark Duggan in 2011, which obviously kicked off. But there was about 4 others in between that. One in Birmingham, I think, was that Kingsley Burrell? I can't remember the brother's name. That wasn't Kingsley Burrell. But in Birmingham as well. I think he got arrested on West Mercia Police Officer.
Say again?
West Mercia Police, isn't it?
West Mercia Police.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely. And as well, when you've seen the movements of the police and the things that they put in place, that they've put in place various task force and an operation that they initiated earlier this year, and I can't remember what it was, what it's called, but it was an operation that was like an update of Operation Trident, which
they put Operation Gang Command, didn't they?
Or something like that, right, in place. But when you hear them kind of things, and then now they're debating whether to arm more police officers in certain areas of the country. You know what I'm saying?
I saw a documentary about it. It's by a detective assigned to Trident. I actually thought, it was quite sad. Because a lot of those guys got killed.
Right.
But actually, and at the same time, I thought it was kind of interesting. How do they, investigate crimes?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, definitely. I think that there's obviously racial targeting, and the statistics bear it out in terms of stop and search and arrests, incarceration.
I think the reason why they developed that task force, I think it was back in 2000.
Massive umbrella right here.
Was because I think when you're looking at, I think the crime itself was too complex.
To jump in.
What is it about?
You tend to look at, I think it's basically, when you think about, time period, you're looking at the McPherson report and all that, and you look at a cock-up with the Stephen Lawrence investigation as well, and you wanted a unit or a task force to gain the trust of a certain population. So I kind of get that.
I'm just going to bring them in. What we're talking about, right? The topic is black unity, whatever that means, right? A black solidarity. Is that a problem? Is that a problem? Why when it's mentioned, some people are very skeptic about it? Like, so this is where the topic we're covering. So what we're saying is, every time black people try to get together to do something, there is a level of unease that has been noticed. And we want to know, why is that? Do you have the answer?
Do I have the answer? No, I don't really have the answer.
Is it something you've observed? Because we might be lying.
Have you noticed that as well, or do you think?
First of all, what I've realised is that, because I'm an African, I could talk about Africa. Right? I could talk about, I could say, when I look at Africa, I'll be like, this is what's going on in Africa, and it's a bit weird. But when it comes to Europe and what's going on with the black people, I mean, I don't really dig into that because I'm always into African stuff. So the thing is this, back home, we have leaders, right? And all these leaders, somehow, some way, they all got European passports. And every time they need something, they don't go back to reconcile with their people, talk to their people for advice or for many things. Rather, they would go to the white man to get advice. You get me? And also, it seems like, the whole country is run by foreign people. Not the whole country, sorry, the whole continent is run by foreign people instead of the people of that continent, right? Also, look, South Africa, there are white people claiming South Africa, saying that we are South African, this is our land, we own, this is our farms. In many other African places.
They are South African, it's their country, but they don't, they're not originally from there. Let's just say that.
Yeah, but they are for example, there are also some Indians there, right? And for example, the South African people, they are the original people of the country. But instead, they are not living exactly the way they're meant to be.
There's certain South African people that are originally from that country.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So Zulus,
it's a collection.
Khoisan, Ndebele, all these guys are.
We're talking about the indigenous people, the people the black people, the original people. Because the white people came later on, Indians came later on. You understand? So it's like Indians, white people, Indians, they're black people. That's how food chain is. That's how the economical level ladder is.
So when you've identified that dynamic, right? Would it be necessary for those black people to come together to fix that issue?
Yeah, but it's hard.
Pan-Africanism.
It's hard. It's not going to be like, look.
Like I'll tie that back in, didn't it?
But for example, on the African continent, if we're talking about specifically on the African continent, it would make sense for those people who face those struggles to work together or to work on a political ideology from country to country, which unites them together against those leaders or the forces which control those leaders.
See, this is what I believe, For an African country to unite with another African country, first of all, I don't believe in...
With the people of those countries.
Yeah, I don't believe in one African country. I don't believe in one Africa as one country, one passport, one everything. But I have the idea of, all African people can share borders, share economic trade, and so much more, and that we can easily, raise up to the top. But no African country would be able to do that unless they they go back to their own people and solve their own matters first. Because that's what Somalia did, right? Right now, Somalia is rising. And what Somalia have done at the moment is that not only have they solved their problem, partly, they have also made Ethiopia and Eritrea unite. Because there were some sort of a...
Somalia done that?
You're not up to date. You're not up to date.
No, we do Africa. He did it as a Somalia.
It was the president. It was a Somali president who was the mediator of the two. Also Djibouti, right? Djibouti is also joining. So right now, what's about to happen in the Horn of Africa? Djibouti, Sudan, Eritrea, and Ethiopia. They're about to have this one economical system.
Can I ask a question? Is that what's happening in the continent among the nations that you mentioned? Because in particular, Somalia, Ethiopia, less Eritrea. But I know there's a lot of Somalis and Ethiopians in this country, yeah? But I'm saying, is that being mirrored amongst Somalis and Ethiopia in Britain? So like, is there more unity?
In Britain?
Yeah.
All right, I don't know. The thing is this, like basically, look, when we come to foreign lands, the only time you will see an African in need, or an African like going to an African, is when there's no one else to go to.
Right.
You get me? Okay. And that's true, right? But when there are, like, for example, when there are bare Ethiopians or bare Somalis and other African people living in the same area, I mean, they all do their own shit. But at the same time, once in a while, you might see the young people hang out and that stuff. Right. But there's not that deep connection. Right. But if that deep connection arose or something, then obviously we could easily change.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about. I think the relationship between governments and governments is one thing that none of us really have control. But the relationships or the interpersonal relationships we have with each other and the peoples of each country has with each other is more what we're talking about when we're talking about this unity and working together. Realizing that if you're in Somalia or whether you're in Nigeria or something like that, you still both have a common issue, which is that the leader of your country is somebody who's being controlled most likely by forces and powers outside that country. So once you're a Somalian and you come to the UK now and you meet a Nigerian brother, you are both joined by the fact that, okay, one, you both have similar colour of skin. Two, both your political leaders back home are being oppressed by the same situation. And then three, the reality that you're going to face here in this country of racism or of some are going to be very similar realities. Do you know what I mean? So the question that Ray was then is, does it make sense now for you to disband whether it be Somalia or Nigeria and say, you know what, we're all facing those same three issues, let's work together to combat those issues and to create better positions for ourselves. And so if I can help you do it in Nigeria, I'll help you do it in Nigeria. If you can help me do it in Somalia, you can help me do it in Somalia. But right now, we're here in the UK, so we should help each other do it here first.
Okay, all right, listen. I'm going to give you a short analogy, yeah? See, there was a time I wanted to save money, right? I asked my mom, I want to save money, can you give me some money? Because you're my mom, She was like, first of all, if you want me to help you, come up with something, at least bring 500, 1,000, at least something, so I can, see what you're doing, your progress, and I can help you too. You understand? But the thing is, when we come to communities now, no community is willing to help you unless that's what I said before as well. Right. No community is willing to help you unless you help yourself. Yeah, right. Thing is this, like, there's something I realized about, because I'm from the Horn of Africa, right? And there's something I realized about these people. When they move to foreign lands, they like to look for each other, right? They set a common business. They are customers to each other. They buy from each other. This is what Somalis, Eritreans and Ethiopians do, Sudanese. This is what they do, right? And then, for example, so the Horn of Africans, they are more connected, right, mostly.
Yeah, bro, let him get under your umbrella.
You're not helping a Somali brother right now.
Sorry, man. I thought it was raining. See, these Horn of Africans, they are more connected. Like, sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but you guys can correct me. They are more connected compared to other African people, other black people within what's it called, the Western world, right?
I question that only on the basis of the fact that, because obviously, like you were just saying, it's only recently that Ethiopia and Eritrea have kind of had some peace accord after how long of
that we're talking about that's political. That's the government.
So you're saying the people,
they love each other.
I think that's right. I also would say that when the Windrush generation came over here, and a lot of our parents came from the Caribbean, they've done very similar situations, not completely. So I think there's definitely a tradition that you would say that's the culture that comes from East Africa, that the East Africans have brought with them in that thing. But in terms of partners and working together as community, even setting up community shops, in the 70s and the 60s, when a lot of our grandparents first came over here, there were African Caribbean owned community shops and things like that, and they actually did put money together. Some people became business owners, some people became homeowners. Some of them were actually successful enough to do what they said they was going to do, sell their stuff and then go back home to the Caribbean. So we had that, but then we did get a tanglement of a group of young people, which I think we're actually seeing right now within the Somali and Ethiopian culture right now, who, when they were growing up in that country and that culture, did not have necessarily the same attachments to back home as they did, and they had a lot more of an oppressive system of thinking like, yo, I'm born here, I'm bred here, I'm British, and they're treating me like I'm not British, and there's a lot more of an aggression and confrontation to the system since we had the 70s and the 80s and the riots like that. So it was a shift in the generation patterns. And I don't think that's necessarily happened with the Somali or Ethiopians. I think we're seeing it right now. So even right now, what a lot of people don't realise is this wave of knife crime we're seeing right now, it's not just African or Caribbean. A lot of it, well, it is African, but it's not just Caribbean or from West or the typical places. A lot of it is actually from Somalia and from Eritrea and Ethiopia.
IC3, yeah?
Yeah, IC3, exactly. Those exact same black brothers who now, because those communities did do well into looking for each other and working together, but the system itself that it's in has played a role and impacted upon the culture that these young people now have. So we're seeing a lot of them involved in knife crime, similar to the African Caribbean. So there's not that much difference. Do you know what I mean?
I'll tell you something, yeah. If we go back to, let me just say something, let me just have a word, yeah. If we go back to the, let's say 1999, 1998, 2000s, there was barely a Somali teenager who was involved in knife crime or gang, whatever, right? But the thing is, in school, see, everybody idolizes something. We have a separate culture. These kids come to school, they get brainwashed, and they want to be like everybody else. They don't want to be different, and by them being different, they're being bullied. So they will do anything to fit in. So from a young age, they are conditioned, they are brainwashed, and then they end up, you know, becoming what they become. And slowly now, you see a lot of Somali people into this gang crime.
Similar things that happened
exactly.
to African Caribbeans when they came here, the bullying, having to deal with a tough culture, and then adopting a lot of that. Some of them who got that East End gangster culture that was never really part of black culture or black community. They were working alongside a lot of those East End gangsters, and they adopted that as part of their culture. And then they looked over across to America and all of that. So similar issues, and I think that's the point that Raven tries to point out, is that no matter where you come from, if you're here in this country and you stick around here long enough, you're going to have the same issues as IC3 people. Do you know what I mean? So it makes sense.
Yeah, but the point I was making, because you said. Sorry. I was going to say, because
I think a lot of those Somali lads here that get involved.
Come close.
I think a lot of them don't have dads, innit?
They don't want that.
I think a lot of them don't have dads.
Not a lot of them. I wouldn't say a lot of them. Some of them.
Where are the dads? Can you clarify? Have you been dads in the country?
I think they're divorced or something like that. Their parents are divorced. I think more likely to divorce than that.
Not a lot of them though.
Yeah, I know.
Some of them.
Yeah, no, but I think I realised a lot of those Somali guys, they weren't the same like about 10 years ago. A lot of them are heavily in crime.
I understand where you're coming from. Basically,
and then you saw those guys in Camden, those two Somali guys. I think they got killed.
Yeah. Same couple hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Basically, what he's trying to say. See, back in Somalia, mainly women were the main, or women had a major influence in Somali power or keeping Somalia in peace, or you know what I mean, because we had a long lineage of women ruling the Somali regions, right? So anyways, long story short, the point I was trying to make is that there are some Somali single mothers. Right. They don't seek help from other people and they like to do everything themselves, but sometimes they can be weak, and you know, time takes advantage of them, and they're not able to look after their kids. And due to that, these children are able to, you know, get into gang crime or get bullied at school, and they can't talk to their mom. You know what I mean? So also there are some.
So there is a need then for those women to connect with other women who go through the same thing, right?
They don't have enough money. Let's say the single mom trying to feed their babies, they cannot look after the baby. It's a lot to do with the environment and shit.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, but that same story the brother said, there are many people from the diaspora who go through the same stuff. So there's a value in those coming together to find solutions for that particular issue, right? Like, you know, there are women groups of how to handle, you know, wayward children and stuff, right? So that's why it's a necessity to come together. So people who are new here, what we're talking about is Black People Collective come together. Is that a good thing? And have we noticed any kind of negative connotations put on that concept? So that's where we're at.
But also, like, I think, you know, there's always going to be a little tension between other Black people and Somali people.
Let's talk about it.
Right? And the reason being is because, look, Somali people are different. They have their own culture and their own way of life.
So
right?
is Nigerians, right?
So I'm just saying, because we are all different.
Yeah.
So is Nigerians. But I'm just saying. And at the end of the day, because of these differences, when they come to this country, they go through a lot of hate on social media. I've never seen Nigerians or other African people, other Black people in that matter, being bullied or hated on, or you know what I mean. Oh, it's crazy what's going on there.
Break down the hate so we can understand. So we break down
one of the main reasons, a lot of Somali people, the majority of them don't believe that they're black. And the hate. Wait, let me finish.
Because my brothers have come to me today to say different.
They don't believe they're black, right? And the reason, and that's not the only reason why they hate it. There's many other super major reasons, because they're Muslim, because they're this, because they're that. But one of them is like they don't believe they're black, right? And you know, everybody has their own, you know, opinion of what they think of themselves. Right. No one has the right to be hated. And if you look into the Somali people, their history and everything, it does. For example, the first people to be called black, you can all correct me because it's like open mic, right? Basically, were the Negro type, right? And we are of the Afro-Asiatic type. So due to this condition,
you're talking about language groups now, aren't you?
Huh?
You're talking about language groups.
Not only language, we're talking about differences.
So one thing I know, so this history of that Caucasoid,
also when we go to DNA background and where we come from, it's much different, right? But anyways, long story short.
Yeah, but in the Horn, everyone's much different, isn't it? Like, the Horn has diversity amongst it. So
I know, but for example, Somalia. Let me give you a short history of Somalia, right? Somalia is the only country in Africa, or not only in Africa, in the world, that's owned or run by one family. When I say one family, I mean they all come from one root, and they all go back to the V32. V32, that's the Y chromosome, right? And they all, and there's a man called Somalia. Somalia is a name, is a country of a name, also a name of an ancestor, which they all come from. When you see tribal war in Somalia compared to tribal war in other African countries, it's different, because the tribal war in Somalia is just like literally cousins fighting.
Clans.
No, literally cousins fighting. Because they come from like one, exactly, this is the cousins fighting. Right. But when it comes to other African countries, literally different backgrounds fighting.
No. Yeah, but we're still pushing something forward. Like there's something is either valuable or not valuable, right? So I'm saying in England, this IC3 identification that people seem to be arrested with, is there a value in those people coming together to work on solutions? Now, you touch a good important thing.
From Ghana.
Hold on a second. You touched a good important thing, right?
How was Ghana? How was our women?
Yes. Whatever you touched on, yeah?
I'm gonna go there.
You're saying being picked on, right? That's something we can unpack, isn't it? Right? Like, for example, if people from the Afro-Caribbean background were discriminated against Somalis, we have to look at what is their actual background, right? You have people from the Afro-Caribbean community who identify with European culture, and then there's those who identify with African culture, right? So those who identify with African culture, right? Okay. So the perfect example is the Rastafarian community, right? Yeah. You'll never find one Rasta in this world, from Jamaica, from the West Indies, who will ever say anything negative about anyone from Africa, especially the Somalis, right?
I don't know that. But
I'm letting you know. Yeah. And I'm saying if we can find one Rasta, who comes and says anything negative about the Somali community, then we'll
I'll say especially Ethiopia, but by implication, the whole in the whole.
I grew up in that era. Sorry, I'll let you jump in. I grew up in the era where you're saying, I do understand that Somalis face has a different discrimination than any other black group. No one would question Nigerian or Ghanaian being black, whereas people did question Somalis on whether they were black. So I get that, but like you're saying though, because I was growing up in that Rasta background, and I know for a fact, majority of Rastafarian, almost all of them, I would say
all even, of what I've seen,
would never question anyone from the Horn of Africa's blackness.
Never.
But my question is this: what is black then? Because that's what we want to understand. What is black?
That's the question.
Because when a Somali says black, or when other people say black, they are referring to.
The irony is, this was the actual topic today, but the person who wanted to lead it is late, eating somewhere. Who knows, right? So we can't.
Oh, he's coming.
I don't know if he's coming. So.
When they're Somalia, they don't know, they don't consider themselves as black, innit? Because they don't see themselves as black. But I think when they come, outside.
But we're here in London, right?
For instance, if they go to a country that they are racially different to, then they probably identify as black.
Like, I get that, yeah.
But
so and today,
let me get back to that one about
if you get arrested, both me and you'll be IC3.
Yeah, but you know what? I've read some articles that talk about Somali criminals, right? Like Somali guy, whatever. On the article at the top, instead of when a black guy stabs someone or black crime happens, it says black crime. But when a Somali does a crime, normally it says a Somali this and that. A Somali. I've seen some articles that actually say Somali instead of black. I'm not saying, I'm not running away from the word black. What I want to understand, at the end of the day, what I want to understand is what is black. Because at the end of the day,
we will have a different interpretation of black.
Yeah, right? We were having exactly. But the thing is this: if we are referring to just the skin,
no, I'm not. So me personally, it's an ally. It's alliance. Sorry, it's an alliance. So that's the easy way to say it. And the only way I can demonstrate that in London is when you get arrested, we're on the same sheet. See, I could do the whole biology and history and similar kind of. But I'm gonna go. It's an alliance, and that makes it so much more easier, right? Okay, that's it. So
for me, yeah. It's a political reality. It's basically someone else's classification. Yeah. That's how it feels.
I kind of agree with what you. In terms of
let me say something before you go on. Yeah, go on. The thing about Somali people is that we do not accept any foreign labels. For example, when you go to Somalia, or compared to other African countries, our cities are ancient names. They stay the way they are. Our streets, they stay the way they are. The name Somalia, like I said, is an ancestry name. You understand? So even Mogadishu, all these places are like ancestral names. You understand? Anyways, what I'm trying to say at the end of the day is that we do not accept black, what's it called, black or white or brown. If you go to Somalia, let's say you're a Jamaican. A Somali won't call you anything other than a Jamaican. For example, when I see a Sudanese, he's a Sudanese. When I see an African, instead of saying we are black, we could also all unite under the African banner. Because at the end of the day, even if we were here for like the past 5 centuries, from father to father, and we've just been here all our lives, we still go back to Africa. So if we want to form a union name, let's call ourselves Africans.
Yeah, well,
that's a whole other debate.
How's that a whole other debate?
No. What it is, because so like he was saying, one of our brothers, Kalam, he raised that question in terms of black versus African. So we was kind of holding it off until he gets here to go into that properly, innit? Yeah. Well, bring out the flag, man. Bring out the flag. Wave it.
Always.
Right? The Russes are loving it now. The Russes are loving it.
Yeah. You're going to make the Somaliland brothers bad.
You know what I mean?
What do you mean, man? There's no such thing, man.
There's no such thing. Now you're going to make them real mad.
Let's not go there.
At the same time,
I'm joking, man.
I get
long live Somaliland, bro.
Indeed. I get what the brother's saying, but I disagree with him slightly on one thing, because there's a lot of these videos going around, we talked about it the other day in terms of like these youths going around saying what nationality would you not date, and the number one answer among black people is Somali.
Among black people, among people.
What I saw with black people.
Okay.
But you could say you could correct me if I'm wrong. What I saw with black people,
That's mad.
Now that's going on among the youngers today. But like, if you was to ask my parents' generation that, you might get the answer might be Nigerian, The answer might be Jamaican, Like my dad had problems with my mum because he came in the house with his Jamaican self, to my auntie and grandmother, and you see what I'm saying, and it was beef, you know what I'm saying, like it was problems, So my point is that I think it's Somalia at the moment, but at different points in our sojourn over here as African people, what's it called? Different ones of us have been picked out, you know what I'm saying, to be singled out in that way, even among each other. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a part of, but what it shows is that we haven't done a good enough job in terms of educating our young people about who we are collectively, or who's our people collectively, or who are our allies then, at least collectively.
So in that regards, there is a need for betterment, right? In that regard, the ignorance that those people are showing is why there needs to be.
Definitely.
But also one of the reasons,
I couldn't figure out.
Okay, go on. Let me just say one thing for you. Before, the reason why a lot of people might help Somali people, especially the other black community, is because like Somali people, they don't like to mix, right? Yeah. And they like, for example, they are cultural. They like to keep the culture within. And a lot of black people might see this as like they are pushing them aside, or they don't want to be part of them. Or, for example, you would see like I've watched some of those videos you're talking about. One of them was saying like they put on a huge what's it called, niqab or hijab. You can't see their body. That's an insult. I don't care who you are, what you are. That's an insult. Also, so if Somali people don't want you, if Somali girl don't want to be your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whatever it is, there's no point. You don't have to attack them on social media. You don't have to attack them.
Gosh, let the sister come in.
Are you a Somali woman?
Go on.
I'm kind of getting the camera.
Can I just say that, like, over the years, whenever people say, oh, I don't like Somali, whatever, I've never had anyone say it's because they distance themselves.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
And our features
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
One. Yeah.
is normally because of
Yeah,
It's never
yeah.
because
I've
we do stuff.
I have heard the distance thing in terms of like just not necessarily on the dating or whatever, just more the black unity thing. Yeah, some people feel like Somalis distance themselves from black people. I have heard
feel
that.
like maybe like growing up.
Yeah,
Maybe like in your 20s and 30s. That's
Yeah.
the main thing.
That's the main thing.
Them not staying in their communities or whatever.
yeah. Now I've never understood it.
There's loads of communities that stay amongst their communities for some reason.
Yeah, Ethiopians, Eritreans, all the Hornies are like
No,
that.
I agree with you. I totally agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. I think what it is over here at the moment is that there's a stronger presence of Somalis than there are Ethiopians over here. Yeah, like I think more people, and I think some people even mistake Ethiopians for Somalis sometimes.
They're the same people anyways. Yeah.
I've never understood it. I've always found Somali sisters very beautiful. Yeah, but I've never tried to approach it because I know what you're saying, isn't it? Right? In terms of, you know, no, I respect it fully. I totally respect the thing. Yeah, like a Somali sister said to me, we talk about going to parties, and she said directly, I want to go to some party where there are nice young Somali boys. Yeah, I was a teenager. I respected the thing. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that, and I don't think that's a problem personally.
No.
Yeah, I don't think necessarily that's a problem.
Also, I would like to raise.
Also,
away faster.
Say again?
I feel like originally,
But
initially.
I'm gonna agree with that. I'm gonna agree with that.
what I want to say is,
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that.
You wasn't necessarily pushed. You was pushed away because I would say, and I think a lot of people forget that a lot of the black community aren't necessarily all, and especially during that time, on this woke or conscious wave.
No.
Yeah,
So
true.
we had a few who were woke and they saw Africa and Africans
True.
as their brothers.
True.
You still had a large number or group who were basically saw other Africans as lower because they had this whole
Well,
European
you have to go for the history,
I
right?
can vouch for that.
You have to go for like Band-Aids and these kind of videos that are pushed out that gave one narrative of the continent, right? And a lot of the brothers from America and the Caribbean, that's what they saw.
and they didn't want to be associated with
Yeah.
it. It was their
So-
own inferiority because they saw Africans on the screen. It's like, oh, those aren't our Africans. Those aren't our Africans. We're not like that. Do you know what I mean? My part of Africa is different to them. Do you know what I mean? Because they were just reacting ignorantly to the image being pushed out.
No, and I can agree with that because and you can vouch for this experience, yeah, in the sense of like being raised in a house that told me you are an African, yeah. So whenever I see an African, yeah, I see a brother or a sister. That's like it's a different thing. Whereas I know I went to school with a lot of people that didn't have. That they weren't told that growing up. You know what I'm saying? They were told something different, and we were indoctrinated into a way of hating what it meant to be an African. You know what I'm saying? So they came with a different kind of mentality. You know what I'm
For
saying?
example, something else I'd like to add to that is that. Sorry, sir. Go on.
Basically, come back to the the nationality and date and all that. I saw those videos many times, and it was guys who would ask, I think randomly, females and males as well, who would you not date? And the dating preferences was based on nationality. I thought to myself, it was kind of dumb. Because, I thought, nationality would be... I thought what they meant by nationality, it could be, ethnicity, something like that. It could be somebody's ethnic, identity. But when it comes to nationality, I think it was kind of dumb. Even the host was dumb as well. He said, what nationality would you not date?
Something I'd like to add to that is this.
Let's, for instance, let's say British. Right. Yeah. Which British person would you not date? Would you not date me? Would you date,
But I think with them, when they said Somali, they were talking about this Somali.
But also, look, I've watched the debate, like a whole podcast show, just based on Somali people. Like the whole talk was based.
What was it about?
And one of the things that they raised was why do Somali people just call themselves Somali? For example, when a Somali does something, they won't be like the black girl or the black so and so did so, but they would rather say the Somali did so and so. Why would they say that? And the thing is this. That is, there's a word in Somali. There's a word in Somali. Yeah, it's called Somali Nimo. Somali Nimo. Somali Nimo is more like saying, for example, I'm about to hurt someone, and this person says, "Bro, are you not a human being?" So when someone says Somali Nimo, it's like, "Bro, I'm Somali. We are the same blood. You can't do that to me." It's equivalent to that. Or what do you want to say? What does it mean?
Somali Nimo means one Somali. Yeah?
No. I don't put the ho. Somali Nimo miya the lehen. I don't put the. What does that mean?
And you're not Somali.
Like Somali Nimo though. Are you not Somali? Is different. Somali matihid miya. Somali matihid. That's.
We're getting a Somali here right
But
now.
anyways, long story short, Somali Nimo.
Come on, guys. Chip in, man. What is Somali Nimo?
It's beef, it's beef.
Somali Nimo, look, there is, exactly, it means like we're from one thing, right? But when someone says, don't hurt me because of Somali Nimo, it's a different thing, like, you get me?
So
it's like saying, I'm a Muslim, don't hurt me.
I hear that.
Do you get that?
So to add to this, what we're saying is, black people should be able to come together and do constructive things, but you should always be able to retain your culture, your language, and marry who you want.
But people have a problem with that, though.
No. Well,
people are hating on that because we have that.
I wouldn't hate on it.
I'm not saying you, but the majority.
I know.
The majority of black people.
And look, I'm proud to say that Somali people. I'm proud to say Somali people are different. They're not the same as every.
Don't you think that now?
Everyone's different to an extent.
I don't know if you grew up here, growing up in Britain, don't we have like a specific black British culture now that we can all kind of relate?
But what is black though?
Not black thing, black British culture.
She just said black British culture.
What is black British culture though?
You grew up where, sorry? You grew up where? Tottenham.
Well, there you go.
I hear that.
So, brother,
actually,
can I say to your friends, Wagwan, just as much as a lot of these young brothers now who are not Muslims.
That's a slippery slope though, you know.
Say Wallahi. And I'm just saying, the language and the culture that a lot of the young people, like I see it with my own little nieces and nephews and stuff, that the culture, even when I was younger, there was even more of a defined Caribbean culture than there is now. We're now seeing young Caribbean people with their Somali friends, their Sudanese friends, all these different cultures, and they all mix, have the same sort of Instagram type of banter that even goes over my head certain times. Do you know what I mean? So I definitely think this black British culture that she's talking about is being produced, and this is the whole point about the term black. It doesn't actually exist. It's an alliance that people have formed about crowd. So it doesn't mean anything. It's just an idea, it's a concept that people buy into if it makes sense for them politically or ideologically to do that. Do you know what I mean?
Can I give another example of that? Yeah. 2004, 2005. Yeah. An artist by the name of Kanan that kind of rose in popularity. Yeah. I don't know if you know Kanan, but he's a rapper. Yeah. And so, because he was from Canada, I got a brethren who lived in Canada for a while. When I went over there, like, his name was kind of getting big. His first show over here, my brethren's brethren was like his manager from Canada, innit? So we was at the show and them kind of things there. There was like bare Somalis in the place, yeah? But there were other Africans in the place, yeah? Just what I'm saying. And partly because other Africans came to see an MC from Africa, yeah? Not just Somalia, but just Africa. They want to see another African MC. And as a part of that, you could see that people were learning to appreciate the different shades, so to speak, of what it means to be African in that environment. It was a lot, just what I'm saying. And obviously, my man rose to be a major kind of superstar artist, innit? But this was like early, before the world knew, man. This was like his first show in the UK, yeah, in some basement somewhere in central London, right? A man was there with all these Africans just appreciating the African way, yeah, which is that's actually a title of one of his songs, on which he has a brother from Kenya, yeah, rapping in Swahili. So and he actually shot his first video because there was upheaval in Somalia, at the time. Yeah. So he shot the video in Kenya, yeah. That's what I'm saying. And the people in Kenya was proper embracing the thing, like, that's what I'm saying. So we might consider the people in Kenya Bantu, yeah. That's what I'm saying, right? But it was just we're African, and we're East African more specifically, you know what I'm saying? And so the point is that there's room for that to exist, innit?
Yeah, but I'm not refusing, no one is refusing the concept.
I know you're not.
Like I said earlier, instead of having the black label as a union thing, why don't we not call it African? Because at the end of the day, even if you live there for like from 50 centuries or whatever long, you know what I mean, from generation to generation you're living here, still you have an African background. So instead of saying the black community, because at the end of the day, not all African, not all
so
people.
It's black, you got to
wait, not all. What? Where did the Caribbeans come from? Do you think they come from Africa?
And culturally, right now, the Caribbean and Africans.
Yeah, I can answer that. The people from the Caribbean have African culture, they just don't know it's African culture.
Yeah.
Yeah? This is what I'm saying. So man could break down for you at the moment, yeah, like Jamaican patois, yeah, how it directly relates to the languages that we actually brought to the Caribbean, yeah? It's not like it's there. But because people in Jamaica, we didn't even consider our own language a language up until 50 years ago. So we haven't even studied it enough. But even the studies that we've done will show you there's Twi words in there, there's Igbo words in there, there's Yoruba words in there, and the grammatical structure of the language is West African, completely. You know what I'm saying? That's what it is. And then now you've got the difference between country and town. So there are places in Jamaica you go today where people basically speak yeah, the Akan Tree language, yeah, but it's obviously different because they're 500 years removed. But they call it Kremanti, yeah. So it's even deeper in the country, in the bush, and what they call the maroon towns and them kind of things there. So I think for us coming from the Caribbean, it's just an awareness of the fact that our culture is African retention at the very least. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, and we can call it that especially because it's made up of more than one different so-called tribe, more than one different nation from the continent as well. Do you know
Also, you know what else I've realised within the black community is that a lot of people are trying to run away from this name Africa. Like not here. Like,
no, here too.
Yeah, but still.
You got me. I'll get it back in it. You got me stuck in it.
Wait, one second. What I'm trying to say.
I think it's going to be different because you guys have Africa. You're going to be more open to
yeah, but
they don't share the same they don't even experience with the black community. So
the same. Repeat that again.
So Africa, you're going to go Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and Morocco.
Yeah, and that's how people say black African because they want to differentiate. Yeah.
Okay. Well, you said they don't share the same culture.
No,
same experience. So is every African, bro. Wait. So is every African. Every African who lives in the African continent do not share the same culture, the same experience. Okay,
there has to be a need. So there has to be a need. There has to be a need that drives what we're doing. Right?
Can I give you an example?
As Somali people, right, we have our own history.
So there's Nigerians.
I know. What's that? Relax, man. Don't worry about it. When I say we have our own, I'm not excluding other Africans have their own. I'm saying something that's unique to us.
Okay.
You understand?
I think everyone would say the same thing.
No.
I know they do. But for example, the difference is this. First of all, Somali people have never been through slavery. That's number one. Number two, Somali people have never been there's no Western world that came to Somalia that took control or tried to lead the Somali people. For example, the Portuguese tried to come through, we destroyed them. The Romans, the Greeks, we had not only generation. Forget about this generation. We're talking about history.
But we spoke.
If we tried to reconcile, like I said,
but we spoke 2 weeks ago, though, bro. We spoke 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Sorry, go on.
Sorry, what are you trying to make?
Black betterment.
What is black? That's the question I want to ask.
You keep on changing the goalposts.
I'm not changing. I'm still on the same base.
You said something about we run away from the term African and stuff, and then you keep asking about what the term is black. And I said, that black was a political term that people have chosen to use for their own political convenience.
But why can we not use African like I said?
You said, why can we not use African? But the interesting thing is, earlier today, my brother here defined himself as a black nationalist. The interesting thing is, you cannot be a black nationalist without the continent of Africa. Because when we talk about what the black nation is, it's talking directly about Africa. So for most Pan-African people or pro-black people, the term black and Africanness are used interchangeably. They have no issue with it. I'm trying to make a point to you. The reason why we don't really have this big issue when we're talking mostly to Caribbean people who are pro-African, for example, is when they see their blackness and they see their Africanness as two of the same things. Yeah. I am black and I am African. It's not no different. It's not a separation. So can we use the term African? Well, the political ideology that black nationalism falls under is Pan-African. So we do use the term African. We're completely happy to use the term African. But I think there's an issue that a lot of people have a much more negative connotation of the term black, whereas a lot of us in the Americas and the Caribbean reclaimed blackness and said we're black and we're proud, and we took that for ourselves. A lot of other people are still caught up with this idea that nah, black's negative. Why would I call myself black? I'm not a colour, I'm not a crayon, I'm this, I'm that. Do you know what I mean? And we've gone past that part there. Do you know what I mean? So I think to some extent it's for you to sort of say, you know what? When they're talking about blackness, they're talking about Africanness, and I can get down with the Africanness, so I'm not going to make a problem about the blackness part, because I understand what they're saying. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but look, let me go back to my...
And I love blackness, you know. It's beautiful black skin. I love it.
No one has a problem.
Look at this beautiful black skin.
One sec. That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about skin. Because if we're talking about skin, then African people are not the only black people that we know. Okay. If you go to South India, they're darker than any...
African.
Wait, one sec.
And they'll tell you that they're African.
Wait, if you go to South India... Akhi, one sec, please, man. When we go to South India, they are darker than any one of you right here. Darker.
Because they come from Africa.
Right?
But I never tell you that.
Let them come from Africa. But do we... whether they come from Africa or not, do we consider them as black? Because this is when the word... this is when the name black gets a bit confusing.
I hear you.
So let me finish, man. Let me finish. This is when it gets confusing.
Number one, we're making it confusing.
When it comes to the Western world and the black struggle, Somalia was not present, nor was there any Somali people present within the Western world to go through this.
Go into Haka. Deal with that, Haka. Deal with that.
There was during like the civil rights movement, there were posters, and he used to differentiate Negroes, and Somali was involved. There were pictures of Somali people.
Where did you find that?
I didn't see. There was a picture.
In America, in the United States.
In America, it was in America.
This is confusing though. Are we Negroes though? That's the question though. Are you a Negro though?
No, but
are you a Negro?
No, but hold on. But no,
are you
no,
Negro?
but yeah, but
why? Are you a Negro though?
Yeah, but
tell me why. Tell me.
You know why? Because
Negro means black.
Negro means black. That's true. But wait. Who were the first people to be called Negroes?
Yeah, this is the point. No, but hold on.
Now, who were the first people
to be called Negroes? The brother's right though. The brother's right.
Was it Somali?
No. The brother's right.
When you come to Somalia, when you look into Somali history, Akhi, one sec. When you come to Somalia, when you come to Akhi,
no, but it's a good one. This particular point is a good one.
When we come to Somalia, in Somali history, there was no time in any of the Somali history that Somali people were known as Negroes, black, or any other.
No, but
wait. Or any other. One sec, please, man. Yeah. I know what it is. Negro, Mood. These are also Spanish words. Right. I know what it means. I understand. But there were specific people. There's specific people named after this. And when I said the Western world, when it comes to the black struggle, Somali people were not present. I meant, look, not only slavery, look, the black African people who came to Africa by ships of slavery, they had to fight for their freedom. They had to fight and go through a lot of struggles.
Sorry, say that again. The black Africans.
Somalia kushega. Dadka jirta. Marka wadanka imaanayeen. Marka imaanayeen wadamaha Yurubta. Waxay u dagaaltameen dhageyso.
I will learn Somali one day, but I'm not there yet.
You understand what I'm saying? Listen. They had to fight. They had to fight for their struggle. They had to fight for their war. You understand? You agree with that? Somali people were not present at that time. They were not present in that struggle. In the Western world. Number one. No.
The struggle. Some people believe that though. Some people believe that it's the struggle that makes you black.
If you listen to my point, yeah, what I'm trying to print out is that there are specific people known or labeled as what's it called, Negroes or black. You understand? But when we come to Somalia, history, right? They ever call us the what's it called? Somalia was known as the land of the Berbers. Right? They were known as exactly. We had a whole different Afro-Asiatic.
But bro, you're talking about designations.
There was no time. I have no problem.
Let me ask a question.
History. I'm talking about history.
That's what I'm saying.
Forget about now.
Can I ask a question?
Let me ask a question. Would you rather follow the big flock and what everybody's saying, or would you rather be unique in yourself?
Bro, let me ask a question.
You always be unique no matter what you do.
Yeah, but let me ask a question. I
would rather call other African people, Nigerian, Jamaican, and you can do Somali. It's best like that. But why do we have to take?
Let me ask a question. Did Somali people define the designation Afro-Asiatic?
Yeah, they were defined, yeah.
No. But did Somali people define themselves as Afro-Asiatic?
They define themselves as Afro-Asiatic. It's not. Wait. Afro-Asiatic is not a Somali word. We all know it's an English word, right? And the people that wrote, the people that laid out these.
That's the point that he's making, though. And that's what he's running away from. Exactly. There's no word in Somali for Afro-Asiatic, because Somali people never refer to themselves as Afro-Asiatic. And the whole concept.
The larger point I'm making.
One time, family.
Black and white. I'm saying a person, what they are.
In Somalia, you're saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Now we do. Now we're not going to.
Hey! I love Somali. Let's never get here. Somali corner inside. Somali corner. I mean.
No. We don't use. Wallahi, the sister's wrong. I have to break it to her, and you're wrong as well.
No.
Somali people will never. Look, a Somali person, if you're black, they would call you, for example, if they don't know what country you're from, and you're from, let's say, North Africa, they will call you a Berber. Right? Or an Arab. Right?
Say that in Somali.
Yeah.
Say that in Somali. They'll call you what?
Berber, but Haidi.
Maybe where you from, brother? But no.
Listen. Look, I swear, wallahi, I swear to God, look, I swear to Allah, yeah? Everybody here, yeah? Everybody might try to join the conversation and be like, okay, we are black, we are this. But back home, when they're on their own, they will debate against that.
No,
I know that for sure. I know that for sure. But
bro, we've had a conversation, and I heard you say it many times. We understand that in all of our nations, including Somalia, there are disagreements and whatever between people, and sometimes some people are discriminated against in that environment. That's not even in question. But what the point I was making is that when we look at terms like Negroid, yeah, and my knowledge of history is losing me at the moment, yeah. But when we look at terms like Negroid, Afro-Asiatic, when it was used to define people and also language groups, yeah, the people that defined this were making arbitrary definitions based upon what they most identified as this versus that, yeah. So if they come to a country and the people have a more either
something which they define as being more oriental looking.
Yeah, right, or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Or their language is related to Arabic or Greek or whatever like that. They define them as this. I say you're Afro-Asiatic. And if you're outside of that, you are Negroid. So everybody else was Negroid. There was a time when Sudan or Sudanese... Hold on. There was a time when Sudan or Sudanese, yeah, was a term used for the majority of the continent. Yeah? And so you have even styles of architecture called Western Sudanese. Yeah, what's it called? Where
wait, you're talking about Arabs. No, you're talking about the Arab people when they referred anything beyond exactly. They were of Sudan, but wait, at those times when they were calling Africa Sudan, what did they call the side of Somalia? They called the land of the Berbers.
Okay, yeah, but what he saw.
But why?
But why? Look,
but there's a reason why.
Look into Ibn Battuta. Akhi, look, you're showing off.
But I know. There's a reason why. I know.
Conversation.
There's a reason why.
Well, I don't know when people talk about shit, man.
But when you
if you don't know what you're talking about, be quiet.
When you say Ibn Battuta, you're talking about an Arab Islamic, historian.
Who was kind of biased.
So all the Arabs, when it comes to all the Arab historians, when you look into history,
but here I'm saying, Arab historians. One feature of Arab historians, is that they tended to favour, Islamic history in Africa. Yeah, just what I'm saying, right? So because, and you said to me the other day, that there's a strong Arabic lineage among Somali people.
What?
Right? You said that to me.
What did I say?
Yeah.
I never said that. I never said that.
Alright, let me reword it differently.
Okay, go on.
What you said was, that there are most Somalis or all Somalis have at least 25% Arabic blood or DNA. Sorry.
But I made it specific. Wait, I made it specific. Yeah. There are two chromosomes, as we know, the Y and the female, right? All the Arab DNA found within the Somali DNA does not come from the father. The father's V32, V12. It goes back to M78, then goes back, but it comes from the mother. It does not come from the father. The father stays the same. So all the Arab DNA that Somali people have, it does not come. We do not have no Arab mythical father. That's a lie.
We don't have mother mythically.
Wait, there are some Somalis who are mixed with Bantus as well. Exactly. You know what I mean? There's a lot of things. But anyways, they come from the mother.
But you say mixed with Bantu. My point is, go on. Yeah, all I'm saying is that because you said to me yourself, you know, when we talk about this unity concept,
because we're talking about Berber. Come back to that. I'd like to add something to that. Look, you said the Arabs would like to favour. How about China, right? Somali people had a lot major influence in China, right? Around the 11th century, starting from the 11th century.
And India.
And India.
Yeah.
Okay. And the Chinese used to call us Pipalo.
Yeah.
Land of the Pipalo. Pipalo is a Chinese form of what's it called? A derogative form.
Yeah.
Of like saying Berber, because they can't say Berber in Chinese.
Yeah.
They used to call us Pipalo. You understand? So, and when it comes to the other African countries, they had different names for it. You feel me? So why is history not supporting the Negro type history?
I'm gonna throw something in. You can come in, yeah? Right?
I'm gonna let you do it.
Exactly, but we Somali people, we cannot accept it.
That's kind of.
We only accept our own, basically. Somali people, yeah. Like if another person called us something that, like Chinese people call us different thing. We don't accept it. I said we go by the tribe and the Somali.
Yeah,
that's why even if we go back home, and you told them, oh, black this. they won't even know what's happening. And then you define it, they'll struggle because if you say black, it just means dark. Person with dark skin, they'll be like Sri Lankans. They'll say different people are black.
Yeah.
And if you say, oh, the Afro-Caribbeans, they want subtitles, they're figuring out how they go through their struggle. In Africa, they go by tribe.
No, that's fine. Yeah, that's a quick thing. 2 weeks ago, yeah, I asked the brother, yeah, what was the dominant spirituality or religion of the Somali people, yeah, before Islam, innit, right? And what you said, what did you say to me?
I said animism.
Right, he said to me,
I need to correct that. I need to correct that though. I've done something.
Alright, fine. But what you said to me was animism.
Yeah.
Yeah? Correct it.
Okay, Somali people in ancient times, they believed in different deities. Waq, Ebe. Waq and Ebe is more like the same deity, right? Yeah, so for example, Waq means Lord of Water and Life, and Ebe is the father of all.
Right.
Ayanle, it's an angel that is a mediator of God and human being.
Right.
Also, Somalia was known as the land of the gods, meaning it was what's it called? Bari, but also parts that's where gods were designed. For example, Osiris in Somalia is Isir, Horus is Horusi. You understand? Baal, what was someone saying? Baal was once designed and made in Somalia. So that's, anyways, long story short, Somalia was a very paganistic different...
Right, but this is the point I'm trying to make here, in the sense of the fact that if you look at it culturally speaking, yeah, across the continent, what you're describing, you'll find that same spiritual practice indigenously all over the continent. All over the continent. And I'm hearing what you're saying, you know, and exactly what you're describing. I can find names for it in Yoruba and Akan and Bakongo.
That's it. And if I could jump in there, because the point that he made there is just beautifully sums up the point that shows all across Africa, Somali culture actually isn't that different. It doesn't stand out that different. The only difference is perhaps the relationship with Islam that Somalia has, other places don't have. But when it comes down to here in the UK, we've got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
this is the rock painting,
7 Somali brothers.
Yeah, I know about this.
Out of that, I would say the majority of them would actually say yes to the question that it's a good idea.
I hear you, bro.
To combine with
it's a good discussion.
Combine with other African people. I do agree with that. I get the point. Black would be as a union thing. No. Basically, look, when people hear black, yeah, right? They all make us as if we come from like one root, one people, one thing, one culture. But that's not the case.
We're saying it's an alliance.
But that's not the case.
We're saying alliance.
The thing is, though, who shows that? Because the thing is, when people talk about Islam,
I said earlier in the beginning,
a lot of people start thinking about Arabs and Asian people specifically. They don't necessarily start thinking about black people or people that look like me or Isha or so on. So because of that, should I say, fine, don't call me Muslim no more. Don't call me Muslim no more.
But do other black people think of Somali people though?
Think of black people.
Somali people when I say black.
No, that's individuals. I'm talking about when it comes to gathering. For example, there are major.
We can accept.
We're making a change today,
and we can. I think we can all accept that there's some work that needs to be done among us in terms of Somalis and the rest of our community.
Both sides are ignorant, innit?
No, but what's the work? Are we saying that the majority of black people? Yes.
I see your videos and I've heard your name many times. So greetings, my brother. Greetings.
I think a lot of work needs to be done. There's a lot of ignorance from both sides. Most times, like you get the other side, the other black here. All my friends are black here, but they will still not consider same as them.
Well, let's say today we're going to fix that.
Yeah, of course.
Let's say today.
I'm just saying, sorry man, I'm just thinking from my experience, how is another man from Africa, looking at another man from Africa and saying one of the two of them is not black? That person is delusional, bro.
What is black?
I said to you,
Now, what is black?
Remember we were in a conversation.
That's the question. So you keep saying, look, you are an African, I'm an African.
So I had my own.
We do not have the same ancestry.
No,
we do not have the same DNA. We do not come from the same place.
Brother,
we do not have the same history.
I'm saying.
So what are you talking about?
Right. Okay. Listen.
Now we are African.
Yeah.
I agree.
Let me give you my definition.
I agree. I don't have a problem.
Right. Listen. Let me give you my definition. Yeah. I said to you very simply the way we can identify black people. Yeah. I've said to you very simply the way we can identify black people is what do they call you when you're angry? When they're angry at you, When they look at you and me, and they try to denigrate us, what word do they use for us? They use the same N-word for both me and you. Regardless, they use the N-word. Regardless of your culture, I have people in my own landmass. We don't share a culture.
we don't share language.
Are you Ashanti?
Yeah, I'm Ashanti.
Like I know God people that they don't deal with the Ashanti around here.
You know what I'm saying? So we have different tribes, yeah, and we all sort of compete to be the best of the people. But at the end of the day, we all realise that we come under one banner of being Ghanaian. Similarly, we all come under one banner of being African. The landmass is ours. When I talk about black people, I'm talking about those people who are indigenous
to
that landmass and the extension as well, i.e. my Caribbean brothers, yeah, and other nations, yeah, which would have had some sort of a migration pattern that come out of that landmass.
Oh, you said indigenous. As we all know, Berbers are indigenous to Africa. Wait, they're indigenous to Africa. What would you call them?
There's a difference of opinion on when it comes to
Berbers. Give me your opinion.
So there's a difference of opinion. Me personally, I haven't looked into it like that. Yeah, but there's an opinion that the Berbers actually migrated, from Scandinavia into Africa.
The other opinion is.
You're telling me dark people. You're telling me dark people.
I'm not about dark people. Brother, I'm saying those dark people are black, but they're not black.
What is a fact? What is a fact?
Please. Look, the land of the Berber. Okay, one second.
Yeah, we are.
I wanted to know what his view is on the.
What harm is going to come to us if we accept the blackness as a Somali? What's going to happen?
Okay, first of all, no. Okay, what's going to happen to us?
Can I speculate?
Can
I speculate on that?
For what I wanted to make a point, but still.
Go, sorry.
I wanted to go back to you asked me about what are Berbers and where they come from, right? See, today we see a lot of white skin or light skinned Berbers who resemble more like Europeans. But when you go deep into the urban places, you see dark skinned Berbers. Sometimes you can't differentiate them from Ethiopians, Somalians, and these are the indigenous people, but they are not classified as black. And also,
they are to us.
Also, the land of the Berbers. If you know about African history, right? About Ibn Battuta's rights or Arabian history, stories about Africa. The land of the Berbers stretch from North Africa all the way to the Horn.
Okay.
You understand?
Right.
So basically,
doesn't that drive home my point even more? Though?
What are you gonna?
Doesn't that reinforce my point?
Go. What's your point? Then?
I'm saying, those people, they're black. If you're saying to me there's Berbers that look like me and you,
but they're not classified as black.
Well, you know, we are classified. We are classified.
They're not classified as Arab.
We are.
Okay, you know what I
You are, but they're not.
You know what's happening? Sorry, can I just say, you know what's happening here? You know what's happening? Do you know what's happening? Do you know what's happening? Yeah. Do you know what's happening?
There is the world.
Do you know what's happening?
The guys that write shit.
I hope you can fight.
When they touch down in the UK,
why do you care whether you're black?
When they touch down in the UK, yeah. When the indigenous people of this country look at them, do they consider them niggers or not? If they touch down in England, in the UK, or in Europe, and they happen to commit a crime, would that be looked at would it be looked at as they are black and committing a crime? Yeah? Or is someone going to say, nah, they're not black, they're Berber and they're Amazigh or what? Nah, bro. They're going to look at the colour of the skin, they're going to say, I see free, and that's it. Khalas.
Exactly the same thing you said, I see.
Yeah, so I'm trying to make things simple for us, right? Now, brother, every Somali, what's good is what's good.
I'm not trying to take away the culture. I just wanted to highlight this here because I feel like when Somalis hear black here, they think of Bantu, they think of slavery, they think of having no izzah, they think about losing their lineage.
You said no izzah. You said no izzah. You can't say that. But when we say black history, when we say black, black has a history. You understand? And it's a people. Sorry, black was named after people who had their own history. A history that was through struggle and fight and war. And also the history that these black first people labeled black went through was not the same as the Somali history. So the name black has a whole different history compared to the name Somali.
Right. Okay. I can agree, I can agree. Maybe originally. Sorry.
Because Somali not inside of black. I'm still at odds with the black type, but however, is Somali not inside of black the same way that Nigerian is inside of black, or the same way that...
What do you mean inside of black?
Inside of the box, the label black, the prefix black, black.
Okay.
Yeah? Synonymous with African, right?
Yeah, but Somali, we do not accept that name black though. You'd rather call me an African. I prefer an African.
Okay, but what I'm saying,
but the reason, but you've confirmed the reason why. What I'm saying to you is because you feel like the word black comes with a stigma of the transatlantic slave trade, of when you think of Somalia, you think of culture, you think of having the Puntland, you think of the pharaohs, you think of a rich history.
Exactly.
But when you think black, you associate that with no rich history, yeah, oppression.
I wouldn't say not rich history, because I do recognize about the not history of the Benin history.
Yoruba, Benin.
Yeah, exactly. I recognize this, and I support them, and I love them as my African brethren.
Right.
You understand? But you see, when people say black as in whole, for example, Somali community, yeah? Like earlier, I specifically said, if the so-called black community want to make a black community, first let each community first, fix themselves and come to common terms, right? And then after that, we can help ourselves. Now, if we say as community right now, because everyone is going through shit. For example, if another black person does something terrible, then the same brush will be painted on everybody else. We don't want to take that burden. You understand?
Algerians and like Lebanese and Egyptians, are they African? Are they coming under the same umbrella? When you're talking about African history, or are they as African as Somali?
They are. Wait. When we say as African as Somalis, what we realize is that Algeria, Morocco, all these places were Berber inhabited lands until the Arabs, what's it called?
Was the only Berbers that inhabited the land?
The Arabs and the white people came through, and the Turkish. The Chadics and the. There's a lot of people that inhabit
North Africa was once black, my G.
Exactly.
Black.
Wait. Whether it was
black, blue, black.
You're taking a minute.
No, I was making a point, bro. I was making a point.
Wait, I'm
a provoking guy.
Wait, whether it's true or not, let me finish my point. I had a point.
Yeah, North Africa was your color.
I had a point. So my point is this, yeah? These people that we see in North Africa who are Arabs right now, they were essentially of black descendants, of African descendants. You understand? So, long story short, yeah? What is black? Because if we're looking at skin, because of the skin we're black, then the South Indians are black, then
but they are.
What do you call? Oh, they are, but they're not classified as black, they're classified as Asian or brown.
I'm agreeing with you to a degree.
They're as dark as you, but on the letterbox, they cite.
They're darker than that. No, hold on, yeah.
But why they take brown?
Yeah, bro. Let me clarify that, yeah? There are black people in India that recognize themselves here as African, yeah? And you're
talking about the African kind. I know there are African people.
No, that's not what I mean. The people that are called Dalit and untouchable, yeah, that have been there for thousands of years, yeah, in South India and other parts of Asia, South Asia, yeah, right, all those kind of things there. These are people, yeah, and I've heard some of them speak themselves that call themselves black and African and recognize that they came from Africa. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Now, some of us may not call them that, but that's just because of our ignorance of the history. Yeah, so we might see a brother. You know
I think the brother is more talking about Dravidian, Asian, like proper.
But that's what I'm saying.
Because we have the African tribes that are in the Indians, yeah? But then we also have like darker skinned Tamil, Sri Lankans who are darker skin. Yeah. So he's saying, do we class those people as black?
Right. So for example, yeah, coming from the Black Conscious movement, yeah, one of the major scholars is by the name of Runoko Rashidi, who does studies of black people all over the world in the darkest hole in some cave somewhere. Anyway, that's what he's about. Yeah. He wants to find black people anywhere on the planet. Man goes Australia, everywhere, right? And I'm saying that a part of the research that he does and how he informs the community in general, yeah, is about black African presence all around the world. So there is a substantive amount of black people as a result of that kind of research, yeah.
Did you say black African presence?
Yeah, but wait, 1 second.
Why not? What's wrong with that? Why not?
Because I'm saying for the conversation we're having, he's saying now black African presence, yeah?
Yeah, because we've identified, for example, earlier.
So that wouldn't be like the people that he's saying are African.
No, it would be, because we've identified.
It would or wouldn't.
But they don't, they're not classified.
But I'm using both terminologies.
They're not classified as black.
No,
even though they're darker than me. Right, just because they have straighter hair, they're classified as what? Brown.
I'm not saying that they are, you know.
With black skin become brown.
I'm not saying that they
are. Asian or whatever.
I'm saying that.
Do you get my point?
I'm saying
so when a Somali says we're not black,
yes, but sometimes you have to step back and step forward, right?
The classification.
Sometimes you might confuse yourself with language. What I'm saying is, when we're seeking betterment, we have to face reality, right? And the reality is, if you're here, so when we're here, we're gonna go through certain kind of challenges, right? So I don't mind saying by a guy, who's black? Are you black? Am I black? Are we black? We're all black. But we're not gonna get nowhere, right? So I'm saying, yeah, Somali people, which you subscribe to, yeah, they're down as IC3.
Yeah.
Afro-Caribbeans without IC3, right?
What's IC3?
It's if you get arrested.
Under law.
So what I'm saying is, I'm going out, and I've said black betterment building, and I'm going to try to help black people collectively because I believe black people need collective help, right? As a Somali person, you're always welcome to join, yeah? But you don't have to.
Okay, that's true.
But you have to, right? No, I'm by saying this. If you and the other Somali people, right, you can take black betterment concepts, go and make a Somali collective group and work on Somali issues. You know why? Because Somalis actually technically count as black. Just like Nigerians and Ghanaians, they can do the same. They can take a concept and just work on Nigerian issues because it might be necessary to fix Nigerian issues before you can fix collective black issues. Or it might be necessary to fix Somali issues before you can fix... Does that make sense?
That's what I was saying earlier.
Thank you. Now I agree. But what I don't want to do is black people collectively, Africans collectively, right? It's just talk in circles and get nothing done. I specialise in not doing that, right? I specialise, so that's why I say your knowledge is great and we want to give it, but let's try to actually do some betterment work, innit? Right? So now, the question that brought us here is...
So we are joining in the name of African people, isn't it?
Well, for you African, for you black.
Sorry, forget all that. Can I just say, because we're doing a lot of separating and Somali's
it's not separation.
No,
it's not separation of Behaviour.
Don't you think there's a British black identity that we have over here? With issues that Nigerian black boys and Somali black boys and Jamaican black boys, they all face here in London.
I don't know about that.
Man lives in a rich castle, bro. Man must live in a rich castle, bro.
Like I said, look, I see.
I read some articles, right, by Somali teenagers that commit crimes, innit? On the title it says Somali criminal, Somali this. I've rarely seen. I've seen rare of them seen black.
I mean, this year we've seen a lot of knife crime happen. A lot of people wouldn't know that 40% of them was within the Somali community. Because it's just reported just the same as all other crimes. The majority of people think it's just the same as all other African crimes.
No, I hear that.
I've learned some stuff today.
Black have issues in the Muslim community, black have issues in the Somali community. They just want to talk about the whole black community. So I don't disagree with that.
To be fair, I like to learn
have Somali names or Arab Somali names.
I know the story.
Yeah, that's an Arab issue. There's always constantly throughout this entire year presented as an African issue. Even to the point where you had gang going on BBC to discuss it about issues within the African Caribbean community. They wasn't talking separating and saying we need to get Somali talk to speak as specifically for what's happening in Somalia. They got black people who can talk about wide across the entire community, the effects or wide breadth of that community. That's what everyone's trying to say.
Yeah, bro, let's face it, we all live in the same hoods. We all live in the same hoods, same mistakes.
What everybody's doing right now.
I live in Leighton, fam. Bare Somalis in Leighton, fam. In fact, there's a whole section of Leighton Harrow that's just bare Somalis, fam. Bare Somalis and that.
What everybody's saying here, I support, right?
Trust me, I've got some good internet from Somalia.
So shall we ask the question? There's a question that got us here, right? And
open up to other people.
Yeah, the question was, why is it that, or does it, when black people collectively come together to work on unity, why is that seen as a negative thing? That was the question. And then you brought out who is black and why is black and the black.
No. I get the reason why it came, but I didn't go straight to it.
You're good.
I didn't go straight to it.
You brought value to this conversation. I understand. Yeah? So that is the question, right? Does anyone notice that reality? Yeah? So what I'm saying, why do you think that is? Why is it when black people realise there's issues in the communities they serve and they try to fix it, why is there a negative stance or negative idea put upon that? So let's bring that conversation going. Yeah. And if there's any non-black person who understands firsthand why this happens, you're welcome to come in and give us information, right? So, do anyone want to speak on that topic? Yeah?
One question I would ask, my perspective, sorry.
You're welcome.
Why do you think this happens from the black community? Why is it that other black people feel threatened, when black people get together and they question it?
So your question is, why do black people themselves feel that they have to question black unity? Does it? Go on.
For instance, someone would say, a black nationalist would say, for instance, it's a threat to the white power structure. A black unification.
What would you say?
I
would say, it depends what type of, why are you unifying for? What is the reason for it?
So is there any reason which is
someone who's is not part of, is not in the, is not from the upper echelon, and it's like an average Joe and all that. He'll question it. Well, might be seem racist, you know, having all, you know, black people in one group and all that. Why not why not Asian? Why not, you know, this and that? Yeah, but you know, I think that's the main.
How is racism being practiced? So
I think it's an accusation of racism.
But how is it being practiced? How?
Well, in terms of a black active group.
Yeah, so black people realising there's black issues,
yes,
and they want to work on it in-house.
Yes.
Where is the racism being practiced?
There isn't. If that's the case, then I don't see, you know, any practices of racism. If that's the case. Right. However, if you're saying, for instance, you know, well, we're joining a group and all that, we're going to, you know, we're going to overpopulate a certain population and all that. Or we're going to a detriment of that, of a certain group, then that will be considered as racism.
Right, but no one said so. You had a question before you jumped in.
So I was going to say, if you saw, you know, and we do have them. Yeah. If you saw like an Arab unionist type party or organisation,
like the Baptist Party.
Yeah, like the Baptist Party. Would you accuse it of being racist?
It's considered to be an Arab nationalist party, isn't it? Yeah. So in history, it was criticised as a racist organisation. Right?
Who was it criticised by?
It was criticised by religious leaders in the Muslim community, in the Muslim world.
Can you
report that because the reason why
to mind any fatwa from any sheikh?
The reason why I'm saying that is because the reason why the Arab nationalist movement was considered as, you know, as negative by sheikhs and all that was because they considered an Arab who's not Muslim as closer in comparison to a Muslim person who's not Arab.
Right.
You know
So my point is, the Mashayikh, their objection to the Ba'athist party would have been one of Islamic nature.
Yes.
Nothing to do with race.
Yes.
So their view was, you are calling away from Islam.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And it's quite similar as well. This leads on to what I have seen is there seems to be this idea within the wider Muslim community that black people, when they're involved in black betterment building, are being called away from Islam.
Yes.
You can't better black people whilst maintaining your Islamic identity. That seems to be this paradigm that they're trying to push you in. You're either pro-black or you're Muslim, and you can't intertwine between two. But that's nonsense.
Yes, I saw the video that you made when you called out Saeed. There was a Moroccan chap. He basically said to you, you're a black supremacist, something like that. And you responded to him, and he stated to him, well, I took all your deeds away. Remember that comment?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. This is
no, this was
so basically
this was
he was more upset about you, but he wasn't upset about Saeed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's Moroccan order. And you know what for instance, I heard about the Moroccan and the black African order, and he played into it. Directly, he played into it. So he wasn't saying, well, you know, what Saeed done was quite bad and all that. Or what he said, what you did was much more worse in comparison to what Saeed did.
You know what else I think,
And I just wanted to comment on the reason why black people jump forward. And I say this as someone who's done it previously myself. And I say that to say that I believe that black people who are someone who never really had an emphasis in their background about culture too tough, when they embrace Islam, they depend on the infrastructure of the people who they accept the religion from, mainly Arabs and Asians. When it's time to them, when it's said to them, stand on your own 2 feet, do your own thing, they're dependent on somebody else's infrastructure. It's like tearing them away from that. It's like tearing a baby away from their mother type thing. So I believe there's fear. Fear is the main element that keeps people and brothers come forth to the front and question Raven like last week or whatever, and cast aspersions on the black betterment movement. What about Arabs, or what about my brother? They want to carry everyone through, but it's not an issue of carrying everyone through. Not everyone has the same issues that the black
issue.
Yeah. So not everyone has the same issues that black people deal with. And there needs to be a space and an arena where we can deal with black issues separate from other people's issues. You can't deal with everything at the same time, you know. But that's about 2 pence.
Well, that was a good conversation you guys had. But I still push out there. I want to get the actual fears. I want to know what is the problems that is faced when black people collectively decide they want to work on black issues. Because right now, no one's saying nothing. But as soon as we go forward, you're going to hear a whole lot of stuff. So there must be a particular thing. Yeah, there's a particular thing that is happening or not happening that's making people feel this way.
All right.
Some
for
of the-
instance,
you know
what
what
is the
else I
black
think?
betterment? Or the example of black betterment. So what's the ideas of black betterment?
So it's recognizing challenges that black people face and dealing with it, right? Now we understand that if we identify as a group, the first people who should be dealing with the issues is those people, right? We cannot wait for people somewhere else to fix our issues, especially where historically some of them might have actually contributed to us being in that position, right? So that's what we're saying, yeah? So that is, so for example, if we're dealing with, say, something simple like knife crime, right? Then that's something we should have to deal with, right? Right, that's a good thing. We don't want people to stab each other to death. That's a good thing. What's the negative point of stopping that?
No, that's not.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying. We have to have these conversations because a lot of ideas are thrown at other people and they project their biases or their ignorance on other people. And I'm saying let's have that conversation. Yeah.
What I've found is people who criticise the Black Betterment movement aren't necessarily. They're not necessarily criticising the motives of the movement. What they're criticising is the people behind it or people that might be involved. If you sabotage the person who's the messenger, then in most people's eyes the message becomes null and void.
It's like Black Lives Matter.
What's that?
It's like Black Lives Matter.
Well, to be honest, I don't really. Yeah, to an extent, I'm not too sure about that. But no, I only say that because all of them, like, it came to light that other motives were being pushed rather than just the actual Black Lives Matter thing.
That's something that infiltration of ideas seems to happen with black people. Like when we start doing this whole like minority groups and mixing groups, you always find that when black people mix with other side of the collectives, the black people needs to push to the bottom. And that's one of the challenges I face. That's why I think it's necessary for us to work on our own issues, right? Yeah. So that's what it is. But so you were saying, brother.
So, like I said, it's to cast aspersions on the people who are involved rather than the actual motives. None of those people who criticise Black Betterment movement, if you said to them, is getting rid of gun crime, is it bad? Is building a community up socially, economically, is it bad? None of them will say that. What they will say is gangs involved, and gangs smoke weed, and there's man sleep with cats and dogs and all of that stuff, and can I build with, you know what I'm saying? Things that people do in their own personal domain, People want to bring that to the forefront as a means of stagnation, of not making the movement go better. If a man, I know it's drastic, but if a man sleeps with another man, like the brother said, in his own personal thing, if he gives you a job, you're not going to make it a condition or stipulate that he stops sleeping with the man before you work for him. Why? Because your motive is to get money. It's not to watch. Similarly, if there's a movement to stop crime in the area, why am I then profiling my comrades who are trying to help achieve the same motive for their lifestyle choices? Especially when they're not forcing them upon me as well.
That's the thing,
So I'm saying. Yes, Mohammed.
So what I think at the same time is that when, for example, as we said, we all Africans, innit? So basically what happens is this. When the people of African background come together, now let's be specific. Now I'm being specific. I need to stand on my ground. That's my ground. That's my ground, innit? When people of African descent come together, and especially in the Western world, they're trying to create a community. I think other people who are not of that background will see this as something, as a threat. Why? Simply because, look, see, almost everything that's built on the Western world, almost everything is based or was stolen or is an African knowledge. Most of it. And it was built, when it comes to system, when it comes to leading, when it comes to wealth, when it comes to everything, it's ours. They took it from us. And they are using our stuff against us. But if we came together, because we're the one that created it, if we came together again, we're able to create something better, something bigger, something greater. And that's what makes them scared.
You think so?
That's what I think, because look,
I think that's for the rich people. That's not be scared.
Look, strength starts from the weak people. It does not start from the rich people. Why do you think every time a prophet is sent to the people, only the weak and the poor follow the prophets, not the rich and the powerful?
Well, we can ask now, if there's any non-black person here who thinks that black people coming together to work on black issues is practicing racism, let them say why, and we can unpack it, because maybe it is.
I think it's the political fear instead of racism.
How about you, bro? Yeah. No, come.
No, I just came in, so...
Because this is a good brother, But I remember you saying that there was a fear that if black people come together, you might fear that it might be practicing racism. Is that correct?
I didn't. No,
It wasn't you?
No, it wasn't.
There's 1,000 forgivenesses, right?
Do you have any fears of black people coming together and fixing themselves up?
No.
No? Okay.
It's a bit offensive, don't it?
I think
about it. You know, I think. You know, when someone says, okay, they might unite you.
Yeah, but that's because they're scared of black people. That's all it is.
I think that's the racist bit. It's racist.
It's a political fear instead of like every time they see black people coming together. Because for example, when Malcolm X rose, we know what happened. When was that guy?
Martin Luther King.
Exactly. When these people came to recognition, you know what they've done for the black people, right?
But why is that dangerous? Why is black people trying to fix black issues dangerous?
Why is it dangerous? Because later on, these people, if they fix themselves, they'll be able to take over or have influence into the political power.
I don't even think it's that deep. Sorry, I don't even think it's that deep. It could be, but I'm saying I think the fear is even lesser than that. I think just the fact, that black people will rectify their standard of living means other groups will come down in their standard of living.
Well,
that's how they feel. Just even if it wasn't like fighting or taking over, just the fact that black people that you would have nuclear families return back to the black community, that you'd have educated people that were accountants, and if you built a black Wall Street, just the financial impact and the socio-economic impact is enough for them. Let alone the warring and the fighting and the technological advances.
Even socially, in terms of relationships.
That's still political.
That's why I said even returning the nuclear family, back to the West, for them would be a fearful thing.
Everything's a threat. Even going out with their, daughter or something like that. That's considered to be a threat as well.
What, as in going out with what daughter from their races?
Yeah, from their races.
So like interracial.
That's also a threat.
Also, what else I've realised that wherever there are some.
So if they bring the father and the mother together, generations, grandmothers, their children are there. There's a unit in the house rather than single parent homes where the mum is working mad hours and doesn't know where her child's at. Or the system is offering the mother benefits so much so that she disrespects the man in the house.
But how come the black community has that sort of way of thinking, that sort of way of lifestyle has been broken down? Why?
How do you mean?
Like I think that as everybody knows, I'm an Uber driver, and I drive around London.
I didn't know that.
I drive around London, and I pick up different people, from every walk of life, from every. And when black brothers or black sisters sits in my car, one thing they say that there is not that family understanding left. There is like men. Most of the black sisters say men doesn't respect us.
Most of the black women say that.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? When's the last time you saw a black man, a black woman, and children, all of them together, collectively, walking the streets?
The thing is, you do see it a lot. You don't see it a lot on the TV.
No.
The TV tries to promote and it's, for me, this is perpetuating a race war. That is the intention of the media as I see it now. They always want to paint it as a black man with a white woman and mixed race kids. They don't show that, they hardly ever show two black men together, and it's decreasingly so two white people or people of their own ethnicities together. And you only have to go on Facebook and look at the comments that these right-wing nationalists write when they see these things. It enrages them.
Someone could say, well, 1 out of 10 couples, just over 10% of the couples in the UK are in mixed race relationships.
But
you could say that.
Also, I could say as well, look, certain stereotypes were perpetuated by media. That the image of the black angry woman. It's not something. Everyone knows of our black women are wild and loud.
So may I jump in? So when we talk about black Batman building, we're talking about right now a non-black person has the power to put out that narrative, right? How black Batman works is you actually grow up in the media, you do your own media, and you can actually give your side of the story.
Right. So you present these families in the media.
Exactly. So that's part of the process, trying to get that narrative, so we don't have to rely on other people to represent us.
Yeah.
Because black people can represent ourselves better than anyone else, right?
Yeah.
So this is the concept that we're trying to push out, right? And this either is a good idea or a bad idea, right? But the fact that we're talking about other people is showing me that it might be a good idea, yeah? So that's why we're here, and that's why week to week we talk about, and the question still remains, what is negative about black people collectively coming together to work on black issues? And I haven't seen one legitimate claim.
But you know what, Raven, in my own opinion, I think like that's for other people to dwell upon.
Yeah.
I feel like some of us have come together and we've identified there's an issue. Of course. We have to move forward.
Of course.
Can't always stay stagnant in the same place. If people think there's an issue, let them do their own thing, and we've got to keep it moving. Brother, when you're on the same page as us, come join us. But till then...
And let me add to that, right? Last week there was a brother who questioned my motives, which is good. I said you should always question... Well, I'm not going to say names. What I'm going to say is, the same time he did that, 2 other brothers from the same background came, took my number, networked, and they've come to me personally and say, bro, that thing you're doing has helped me out, right? So it's not about, you're right, not dwelling on those who don't understand, it's dwelling on those who actually want to be constructive and walk forward, isn't it? But saying that brother is always welcome to come by,
that's what
talk,
I'm saying. When the brother's on the page...
When he's ready, he's still a brother, do you know what I mean?
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
It's all about being constructive, do you know what I mean? So, this build here I think is very important. I think we're actually talking, there's no arguments, we're hearing the end of stuff, and this is what I want to see week to week, right? I would like us to dedicate a time.
Have you noticed there's not a certain person here though mashing up the conversation?
Let's not go there, man.
I've got to say this. Nah, the reason why I've got to say this, yeah, is because look, do you know, like, the brother, he stated last week, yeah, he has a spiritual standpoint. Right? And to be honest, when I've seen him speak, yeah, I've clocked he's got dreads or whatever, but I haven't really seen him push this spiritual thing too tough. Yeah. But there's a certain individual, no matter where the conversation goes, he has to bring it back to this deen thing. Right. He has to bring it back to...
Be careful, like, I'm going to turn up.
Make him turn up. Let him turn up still. Bring it back to this Sunni savage monkey beast nonsense. Yeah?
Yeah,
that makes the thing stagnant.
And here's what it is, right? One of the rules I'm trying to push forward is that we be respectful, right? I don't want to see, when we go into name calling, then the topic is forgotten is how I feel about the name, right? Now, everyone can make a claim. If someone has a claim and they have back evidence, they then come with the claim, and someone of a similar ilk can go back and forth, and we can have a constructive discussion, all right? But right now, we don't want to always have one particular topic that keeps coming up, right? But what I'm saying is everyone's welcome. Everyone's welcome, isn't it?
I will suggest that
everyone's welcome,
that is sorted out at some point, and that conversation can happen.
Yeah.
So hopefully,
I'm saying to you, that conversation, yeah, will never get done. It will never get done. The reason why is you're going to have people stand on their platforms and they're not going to budge.
All right, brother. What I will say to you is that conversations. I've had conversations with the brother in question about having conversations with men like yourself.
Yes.
There are conversations that, you know what I mean, can happen. They might not conclude in any way, shape or form. Like today, it's the 10th minute of time, that the Somali issue's been discussed. But for me, the conversation today, it was a different conversation. The energy in the conversation was different, and I learned some things in the conversation. So sometimes it takes us going around in circles.
What did you learn about Somali people?
Say again?
What did you learn about Somali people?
I learned from you, bro.
What did you learn?
I learned some Somali words today. You know what I'm saying? I learned some Somali words today.
Like what?
I can't remember that.
See what I
mean? You know what I was going to say as well?
But it's on video. So the point is that, but even outside that,
to talk about certain individuals. When I see it from outside, as an outsider,
even from an insider, when I see it, I know it's not.
But the point is that
he always brings it to that
conversation, and people are willing to come to the table to have certain conversations.
Well, that's why we want to facilitate an area of space where we can talk about these issues, And one thing I don't want to do is marginalise people, but we will say that when you're here, you have to conduct yourself in a way where you can have a back and forth. If it's just screaming and shouting, then you're never going to learn, isn't it?
First of all, look.
I was going to say something about the Somali thing.
Content over everything. From your melody.
Man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
No, you come back. You come back.
Alright, come. Okay.
I'm not doing it. You're
all
doing it.
Alright. Go on. What are you saying?
What lodge do you attend? It's Imperial Lodge in London. That's my dad's one. And you know what they do?
Yeah.
It's
supposed to be a big part of that in regards to the question of black as an identity. Yeah. I like that. I want to give you a brief point of view on how that